Hi, Knights. My name is Colin Bynes. I'm the current junior class president, and with me I have Remy Corbin, and she's a junior class vice president. And we'll have our counselors introduce themselves as well.
Hi, good afternoon, Knights. My name is Mrs. Berry. I'm one of the counselors there. I work with the students with last names SP through Z.
And hi, my name is Mrs. Paul, and I am a counselor, and my students are Jen, Jen through May, M-A-Y. And we're happy to help you today and answer your questions. And if we don't answer everything, feel free to email your counselor with questions as well.
And I'm going to jump in. I'm the ASB director. My name is Bonnie Bogri, and I fully encourage you to email your counselor and get information that you didn't get. I actually don't know a lot of information that the counselors know, so email them with those counseling questions.
Awesome. We're going to dive right into the first question. So can we kind of clarify, like, what are the required classes for incoming seniors?
Okay, that's going to vary by every student. That's a really long answer, but let's try to simplify it. At an absolute minimum, every senior has to have English 12 or AP Lang, and has to have government, either college prep or AP. So everyone will have that, every single senior. The other way to know what you need to take is we sent you out a link to a website. And on the website, when you go to senior class course selection on that website, it's going to take you to 11 steps. The very first step is to request your transcript on parchment. And we also want you to learn how to do these transcript requests through parchment, because when you start sending transcripts to college, you're going to use this parchment. It's a digital online ordering service, and your transcript gets sent to where you send it. So you're going to have it get sent to you. You're going to go through and you're going to look at the very last column on your transcript. And step 2, you're going to see a little slideshow of how to read your transcript. But there's a column called Need. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at every category where you have credits that you need. And you're going to know you need to pick classes in those areas. In addition to the Need column, which is your graduation requirements, if you are planning to apply to a 4-year university, you're going to want to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements for those universities. So on that website, we put those requirements, the A to G requirements for the CSU and the UC system. And then if you're applying to a private school or independent school, you would want to check and make sure that you're meeting all their requirements. Some of them require 4 years of math. Some of them require 3 years of a world language. So they're going to have on their admissions websites what you need to take. So between the graduation requirements on your transcript and what you need for a 4-year university, if you're going, that should be, and you should be making a list and writing things down. And then you check in with us too to confirm, but those are the first steps. And I know that was a long answer, but everyone is different for everyone, so.
And I'm going to piggyback on that and remind students that if you, some of your students are going to be ahead in credits, so it's going to state that you only need 30 credits, maybe even 20 credits. You must take 4 classes as a senior, no matter how many credits you are ahead. That is a requirement by the state to be a full-time student. So just keep that in mind, that you must take 4 classes.
I was going to jump in here actually before we go to the next question. So regarding that, there's been some confusion on like if a student can take a 0 period, is that count as like a 0 through 3? Is that still like the 4 classes? So it just be like a 1 through 4, it can be 0 through 3, correct?
Exactly. So we have seniors who go 0 through 3, and a lot of students that request a 0 period get it, but sometimes we have more students than we have teachers willing to teach it. So it's not automatic just because you're a senior, but what we do is we take all the requests and we share that with the school administration, and they do their best to staff the classes by student demand. But sometimes there's limitations on the teachers. So definitely you could go 0, 1, 2, 3. I have students who like to sleep in and go 3, 4, 5, 6. So, but you just have to be on campus 4 periods a day, like Mrs. Berry said.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that clarification. So our next question is, are course selections going to be due March 12th or 19th? How are those dates looking?
Mrs. Berry, do you want to answer?
I'll let you answer since you brought that up.
Okay, well, we at first were thinking we wanted them the 12th, and then we decided we had a lot of communication with administration. Long story short, you guys can turn it in on the 19th, and we're sorry for that confusion. And we realized that we had one on the Google form date and one on the website. And so we're sorry about that. So March 19th, you have an extra week.
Awesome. Thank you for clearing that up. Okay, and then do you guys have the dates on hand for when each grade is supposed to be done, especially for us? So we know that we are the 19th. Is that the same for all the grades, or are they all pushed back different on the grade? Like, how's that looking?
So the incoming juniors and incoming sophomores, they're going to get their information on March 15th. I don't know the due date yet. We have to work on that with administration. We haven't gotten that far yet. And then the incoming ninth graders, so if you have a younger brother or sister in middle school, they won't get their information until March 22nd, and then they'll have some time too. So we don't know when they're due, but they're going to be, the information will be released for incoming 10 and 11 on the 15th and incoming 9 on the 22nd. So we wanted to get seniors in first, and it also tells us what classes are going to be left over for other grades because seniors get priority.
Can I jump in here, Kellen, real quick too? I think this is a great time to put in a little plug for the next counselor, Meet the Counselors. Next Thursday, we're going to have another counselor meet, and we're going to record for incoming juniors and incoming sophomores to ask questions. So if you're watching right now and you're a sophomore or you're a freshman and you're like, these don't apply to me, they might not all apply to you. Yes, that's correct. So make sure that you look next week at the end of the week on Instagram, and we'll post it all over the place for a meeting that's just gonna talk about your questions.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to move on to our next question, which is, has a schedule been created and published for the 6-period day? And then if not, when will we expect to be able to see that schedule?
I'm assuming this is about the bell schedule. Is that the question?
Yes,
Right.
the bell schedule.
So no, we have not received anything, and I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a while, only because, as we've said before, things are so fluid. So we don't know what the guidelines will be for next year in terms of how long classes need to be or how many people can be on campus. We're assuming everybody's going to be on campus. So I wouldn't anticipate seeing a bell schedule until maybe August, before we start back to school. But that's not something that's done in the counseling office. That's done by the administration. So I would just recommend that you continue to monitor the San Marcos High School website especially through the summer.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much for that. So can there also be some clarification on regarding the 6-period schedule? Why did we go back to a 6-period schedule?
I honestly don't know the answer. We were told about the 4x4, not much ahead of you all. We found out in August. So, and then we also found out this year that we were going back to the 6-period day. So those are decisions that are made at the district office. And so as counselors, we adapt and try to support you guys and whatever they dictate we're doing. I know their intentions were really good with the 4x4. They didn't want you to have too many classes during the day when we're virtual. And that's why they made that decision to have fewer classes at a time. So it was to support you. But that's all I was told.
Okay, so moving on, are CSF applications offered, and if so, when?
Mr. Ziegler is the advisor for CSF. And once he decides to update that, that will be updated on the website. That does not go through the counseling office. That is something that is managed by has been in the past, he's been the advisor. We don't have an update, but I have made a note of that to check in with Mr. Ziegler to say that there are students out there asking, and when will there be information? So what I'd recommend is maybe next week, look at the website, see if there's any type of update with dates, but I have made note of that to follow up.
And Miss Barry, I'm going to jump in because actually I was just talking with Mr. Ziegler yesterday through email, and it's back up on the website now, and I'm sure that he's about ready to get everything posted, and people can apply for that. But you would look on, right now it's listed under programs on the SMUSD site, the high school site, and at the very bottom of the programs tab, it says CSF or California Scholarship Federation.
Thank you. That's great to know.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Moving forward, so is there any update on AP exams?
So there's Mr. Ziegler again. So he has a information page on the website about the AP exams because there's a lot changing. There's, as you guys know, there's different test dates and there's in person and there's online. And so he is keeping the AP webpage up to date. It is under, if you go to sanmarcoshigh.smusd.org and then hit on programs again, you'll see, I think it's the top tab, advanced placement. And if you go there, they're keeping that up to date. So keep checking the website for that information. He's busy.
Absolutely. So our next question is, will there be any new courses or classes offered for next year that we haven't seen yet?
And also, on the contrary, is there any classes that have been taken away for this next year?
Oh. You stumped me with the taken away. I don't think, I don't think they, well, the board on what day? So Tuesday night, the board did decide to eliminate the Chinese program. So that is something that is no longer being offered. And I know those students are aware of that situation. And so we are working with students who contact us about finding solutions to continuing their study. And we're also looking into opportunities. So, and sometimes when things like that happen, we can make great things come out of it. So talk to your counselor. We're working with you guys to help you guys if you're in that situation. On the new courses, there are some. And when you guys look at the course selection website we sent you, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a tab called Course Catalog. And this is filled with great information about all the courses we offered, and a bunch of the teachers even did videos to tell about their new courses. There's flyers, and then there's that course catalog with all the descriptions of each class. But we do have some new classes, and Mrs. Berry and Mr. Galaz can chime in if I forget him, but we have a new child development class. It's a college prep elective. So that means it'll be part of your GPA for admissions to college. We have a personal finance class, and I believe Miss Razi will be teaching those sections. And we also have a new math course called data science. And so again, you'll want to read about those and see if those are of interest to you. Did I miss any? Mr. Galaz is joining us. He's the assistant principal who oversees counseling. So he might be able to add something if I forgot it.
I think you got them. I mean, and it's, yeah, and it's looking at that course selection, that course catalog, just to see for our students, because I also feel like students don't realize there are classes that we offer. Sometimes they just don't know. So I would really suggest just kind of perusing that and looking at everything that is there.
Awesome. And just clarifying, are any of those new courses offered in honors classes?
None of those are honors. They're all college prep though. So
Okay.
they're all, yep.
Okay.
They're all
awesome.
accepted by four-year universities as part of admissions and part of your GPA and admissions. And so they are available to, I know this is for incoming seniors, but to lower grade levels as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the next question. Can you explain how students can take classes simultaneously at Palomar possibly, or is that considered dual enrollment? Like, can you kind of explain all that, please?
Sure, I could do that. So, so there's two ways to take classes at Palomar College. You can do it during the summertime, and that has nothing to do with our school. You can choose to take it. But when you say simultaneously, we call it concurrently. That means you're taking it at the same time you're in high school classes, and you can do that through dual enrollment. those classes are determined in a partnership between the district and Palomar. So we won't know what classes are available. I don't know when dual enrollment will be announced from the district and what classes, if that partnership will continue. I don't have a date. I don't know if Ms. Paul or Mr. Galaz has anything, but I don't have a specific date when to anticipate a list.
Well, on that course catalog webpage that I told you guys about earlier with the course descriptions, there is a dual enrollment tab. And if you click on that, you can see the classes that, like Mrs. Berry said, it's an agreement with Palomar College and the district, and you can see which courses they're offering. It's not every course in Palomar College. There's specific courses, but you are a Palomar College student while you're still enrolled in San Marcos High School. One of the big differences between dual enrollment and the concurrent enrollment that Mrs. Berry mentioned is that when you go take a class at Palomar College, and we have a link on, again, the course catalog and on the website, and it says outside course credit or something like that. I forget the exact wording of it, but it's outside course credit. We have a whole list of ways you can get credit outside of San Marcos High School. But when you go to that link, when you take a class on your own, you have to do some paperwork because you're a minor. It's called a K through 12 form. You'll see all that information there. When you decide to put that course on your San Marcos High School transcript, it's not weighted, but a university may weight it as part of your GPA when you apply. The dual enrollment, when it comes back, if you take a dual enrollment part of the agreement, that's actually weighted on your San Marcos High School transcript. So that's one difference between the two. But in both cases, you are a Palomar College student. You are with a Palomar College professor, and you have to follow all their rules and dates and drop deadlines and all that. It's separate from the high school.
Okay, so thank you so much for clarifying that. So in terms of like taking a course at Palomar, is that a course that would be like during your 6-period schedule, or is that like an after school situation? Like how does that work in terms of like attending the actual class?
Good question. So right now, all the Palomar classes are online because of COVID. But in the future, when they're back in person, you're going to have to find a Palomar College course that fits into your high school schedule. So if you get out at 1 o'clock every day, I'm just making up a time, you don't want to take a Palomar class until that starts before 2 o'clock because you're going to have to get over there. So it's a separate enrollment. It could be in the evening and it could be in the afternoon, but likely morning's not going to fit with your schedule.
And also the dual enrollment, like Mrs. Paula said, the dual enrollment is online right now, but when we go back in the building in the past, the class would be after school. So the dual enrollment class would be after school hours, where the instructor comes on campus, instructs, teaches that class, and you'd be required to attend that class in person. And that's the dual enrollment, the partnership. But we don't know next year what that will look like.
Okay, thank you. So our next question is, what 0 periods will be offered next year if you are aware of that information yet?
So we always will put out a list of classes that we hope to offer 0 period, but nothing's guaranteed. So I always want to make that clear because sometimes things happen. Let's say not enough students sign up for it, so then they can't offer it. Or so things could change. So I want to make that clear first. But we typically offer government and AP government. For students in our band program, we have the jazz band class. We also offer our Air Force JROTC program has a 0 period. Often we have weight training and woodworking offered 0 period. Sometimes we offer, and this year we're going to try having an AP, a college prep chemistry 0 period. And I think we're going to try to have an anatomy physiology honors during 0 period. So again, nothing's guaranteed, but we will offer it. And if we can fill it and it works, then we do. Did I miss any, Mrs. Berry or Mr. Galaz?
Maybe Avid, don't we have a senior Avid?
Thank you, Avid. I forgot Avid.
Okay,
Senior seminar, and then for incoming 10th graders, we have an Avid 10, also 0 period.
Awesome. So moving forward, is course selection first come, first serve in terms of like grades, or is it whoever just puts it in first into the form? How is that kind of
Good
addressed?
question.
That's a really good question. I'll take that one. So we call this priority. That means you're guys gonna be seniors next year. So we enter your classes first before all the other grades get to pick. And so that lets us know that you seniors, incoming seniors, these are the classes that you're requesting. So we know, oh, we've got to, make sure we have enough sections for all of these classes. But in terms of when you submit your course selection form, it doesn't matter whether you turn it in today or you turn it in March 19th. There's no priority for when you as incoming seniors turn it in. We have not built a master schedule. We just know the number of requests for all the courses so that we know how many teachers and how many sections we need. So don't worry about that at all. If you already turned it in, it doesn't mean you get a spot in those classes. It just doesn't work that way.
And sometimes the student will say to me, oh, I have this certain GPA. Should I get priority before someone else? Or I turned in, like Mrs. Berry said, I turned in my form before someone else. And what happens is once all the students are in the computer system, someone in the counseling office pushes this button and the computer just starts randomly scheduling. And it starts with seniors, and it's not alphabetical order. It's not by GPA. It's not when you were entered in the system. It just starts going. And it's random, which is fair, because I'd be upset as a counselor if my kids were toward the end because I have J, right? And what if all the A's went first? That wouldn't be fair. So it's real random. So all of a sudden, oh, no more 0 period government. All right, so we're going to reject the kid from that one. And it keeps going down. Then it goes to juniors. And then it tries to put all the sophomores in. So that's how it works. So it's totally random. So it's fair.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question is, can a student apply to have a specific unscheduled period, for example, an unscheduled second period when they have a third period, etc.?
Yes, they can. They can put in that they want an unscheduled 5-6, or they want an unscheduled periods 1-2. They cannot request to have an unscheduled in the middle of the day or in the middle of their schedule. They cannot have a gap. They have to take all their classes in order. Now, sometimes that is not possible because they request a class. So say, for instance, if they requested an unscheduled 5-6, but they requested a class that was only offered during periods 5-6, then it wouldn't work for their schedule. Typically, a counselor will reach out to the student and say, hey, you wanted an unscheduled 6, but you really want to be in the new childcare class, but it's only period 6. What do you want to do? During the summer when we're balancing, if counselors are, if you can think about it, looking at hundreds and thousands of schedules, that's why we really want you to select your alternates. Because if we know you absolutely want periods 1-5, because you won't, 1-4, then what we'll do is, if your first choices didn't work into your schedule, we're going to pick your alternates. And so this is the plug to say the alternates that you choose are very, very important. So if you need time to think about it, then you have till the 19th. Think about it, because we do use those. We do go back to your selection form. So it's really important to do that.
So, okay, that's a good question. So we had a question, someone asking, are there still alternates? So there are 3 alternates, correct? And is it just for electives, or is it for all courses? In terms of like taking like an English, I guess yeah, sorry.
Well, the alternate, there really isn't an alternate for English unless
Right,
you
right.
say, if I don't get an AP, I want to be in college prep.
Right.
But this is a really good example of an alternate, like for instance, if you're taking a science, so it's not just electives, it's science. So if you're saying, I really want to be an AP Physics 1, but if that doesn't work into my schedule because I have a conflict, because it conflicts with all my other schedules, or there's just too many students requesting it and we don't have enough room, you might want to put another science in your alternate. So we know that we're going to replace that. So it doesn't just have to be electives.
And I
Okay.
think Mrs. Berry brought up a super important point, and she already said this, but we know you students don't see this picture, but sometimes, like Mrs. Berry already said, let's say you wanted AP Physics, and let's say they did put it in 5th period, but you said you wanted to be on scheduled 5th. Like she said, it's wise to put another science you'd be happy to take, so that way we can give you kind of the best of both worlds. So sometimes there's just those conflicts, or sometimes or let's say you want, let's say you're in honors wind in the band, and that's typically offered 4th, but what if that's the same period as Calc BC? And those are, then you're going to have to choose between the two, and an alternate won't help. So there's a lot, it's like a big puzzle. So we do our best, but it's a big school with a lot of classes. So
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving forward, have there been any edits to the graduation requirements for this year? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. We're doing the next question.
Well, let me just
Yeah.
say this, because if we have students in other classes other than incoming seniors, so for you seniors, your graduation requirements have not changed, but the graduation requirements for the other classes are different. So it's really important that you know what your graduation requirement, for those of you 9th, 10th, and graders that are listening to this, your graduation requirements could be different than, well, will be different than the juniors, current juniors right now.
I mean, at this point, the only people that have the same graduation requirements are the incoming 9th and the incoming 10th. So incoming 11th grade has different requirements, incoming 12th grade has different requirements. So we just need to be very cautious of, if you're talking to one of your friends and they're talking about maybe how many years of science they need, it's different for a senior than it is for a freshman.
That's a really good point. And we get confused too, so don't feel bad.
All right, so our next question is, can someone take a VAPA over the summer? And then adding on to that, are there any other summer courses that students should know about that might be helpful for getting those credits?
Good question. So courses that are required for graduation. So for example, for you incoming seniors, it's English and government. Anything that's required for graduation must be taken through San Marcos Unified, so on our campus. There are 2 exceptions, the world languages and the VAPA, and we allow those to be taken off campus. Let's say you want to learn Japanese, and so you're going to go to Miracosta or Palomar to learn Japanese because we don't offer it. So that's an example of why the district allows that. So on that course catalog and course selection website that I keep talking about, there's that outside credit information. It'll give you information on how to take a class at a charter school. So you could do that, and you have to fill out a request form and give that to your counselor in order to do that. And there's also information on taking courses at a community college.
And I just want to mention this, and it can be a little confusing and students will go, what? But, so you can take your VAPA off campus, but you have to take a class that falls under the CTE. So go to the course catalog and you have to take a class that falls under that category in order to meet the graduation requirement. So
Wait, so sorry, that's only for students who are taking a CTE course? So like if I'm taking engineering and I want to take my 2nd year of engineering, you're saying I obviously I can't take that over the summer, like that has to be taken here?
No. What I'm saying is that if you take a world language class or a VAPA class off campus, right? You have to take a CTE class in order to well, let me say this, it's mostly just for world language, right, Ms. Paul? So unless if you take 1 year, I don't want to confuse everybody.
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Confusing. We won't get that technical. Just talk to your counselor if you have
I
questions.
was just gonna say, I don't want to get too technical. You're right.
Well, just talk to your
You
counselor.
can't
We're
take the
watching out for you.
classes. There are forms, and the counselors will help direct you on if there's any discrepancies. Let's just say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
They
So-
keep us employed with all this confusing stuff, right?
And I'm going to jump in there as a parent whose son did take world language outside of San Marcos High School. He went to the counselor and she said, we said, we're going to do it at Palomar. And so she helped pick the classes, and you guys would do that as well, right? You'd be like, yeah, that would work. And you would tell them the choices that they could have. So don't, I guess, try to just register for any VAPA class or any world language class or any CT class. Ask, because you want it to count.
I think that's really good advice, because we want to make sure that you take things that not only are going to meet your high school graduation requirements, but we also want to make sure you take things that will transfer to a four-year university and are going to help you in the future, because there is an advantage to taking community college courses because you're saving time and money in the long run by taking those college courses. So I think that's really good advice. Just check with your counselor.
I just want to say, I want to reinforce that, because things are really tricky right now, and it is important. You do not want to sign up for a class that will not meet the requirement. You've wasted your money and your time. So it is really important to have that discussion. And that's especially with VAPA. If you plan to take a VAPA off campus, you actually have to take 2 classes. So and if you're going to take it at a community college, you absolutely need to talk to your counselor, because there are some rules about that don't make it so easy to just get the high school credit. So just that great message. You need to check in with your counselor and make sure it's going to work for you.
I get a lot of students asking about taking math off campus, and I've had that question a lot recently. And so I'm just going to throw this out there just because I've gotten this in an email a couple times over the last few days. As I said at the beginning of this question, you can't take graduation requirements off campus except for those 2 exceptions that Mrs. Berry and I mentioned, the VAPA and the world language. So you can't go take a math class at Palomar and have it count toward math credits at San Marcos High School. But once you've done, so for this incoming class, you guys have a 2-year math requirement for San Marcos Unified. Once you get to the higher levels of math, you can go take those at Palomar if you want. Any class you take at Palomar comes back to us as elective credit. So once you've fulfilled the math requirement, then go ahead and you can take math. It just comes back as elective credit. You just can't take it when you still need that math credit, if that clarifies.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. So moving forward, is there any update on the LEVS program and if that is still going to be an option in the future?
That's one of those questions I don't know the answer, and I don't know if the district even knows yet. As we all know, we're all adapting and saying, oh, things are up in the air. So I do not know the future of the virtual program.
Okay, so our next question is, can you explain the difference between the AP Gov course that seniors can take and the AP Gov/Econ course? What's the main differences? Why should students take each one? What should they consider when thinking about that?
Is that me or Miss Berry?
I can do it if you want.
Okay, sure.
So there's a pure AP government class, which is a year-long class. It's a traditional class that we've always offered, which is the AP curriculum. And then I know they do a little econ embedded in that program, but it's not an economics class. The AP Gov, it's College Prep Gov and AP Economics. So they're not two separate AP classes. And it is a year-long class, even though it's two classes, it's still a year-long class. But the emphasis is going to be on the economics part. So it's going to be AP Economics with the government interwoven into the curriculum, where AP Government is AP Government with some economics interwoven into that class. The reason why an AP Gov, the AP Economics / College Prep Gov would be for students who might be majoring in economics in the future. They're really interested in that particular subject. They might be going into business, or they might be going into international studies. And so they're not that interested in government. And so they won't be focusing on that as much, going as in depth as you would with AP Government as the main subject.
All right, thank you for clarifying that as well. Because I think on the website it does say, at least from my knowledge, it said like AP Gov / AP Econ, and that was a little bit confusing. So thank you.
It's been updated.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that someone discovered that, and I think it's been fixed as of this morning, I want to say.
I think it was fixed yesterday morning.
Yesterday.
So, just to be, very transparent about this, we actually have like course documents in about 3 different places and 3 different websites. So we're always trying to make sure that each one of these guys match. So we're doing our best, because as you all have seen, we have these websites now, which we think make it easier for you all to access, but we had to create these things. And so again, we have like information in 3 different spaces right now that we're trying to keep congruent across these 3 different places. So we appreciate when you guys point that out, because it just helps us be as clear as possible for you.
Yeah. And then moving forward, so similar to kind of how we're talking about like semester-long classes, are there courses that are semester-long courses? Or are they all now full year courses again? And how does that kind of work? And back to 6 periods again.
So we're going back to the way that you guys have always known, which is a 0 through 6 or 0 through 7, 1 through 6, whatever you want to call it, day. And so you will have a first semester grade, 5 credits, and a second semester grade of 5 credits, which makes it a year-long course. So we're going to go back to the old way. Did I answer the question? Is that what you were asking? Yeah. Okay.
So the following question kind of goes along with that. Since you're saying we're going back to our normal schedule more, I'm assuming the LEVS program will not continue next year. Is that correct for students?
We haven't been told yet. We don't know.
Yeah.
That's a district level decision, and they haven't shared that information yet. So I don't know.
I think all we know is some iteration of it will exist for students. I don't know if it's LEVS. I don't know if it's a dependent study. We don't exactly know what that looks like yet. All students are kind of just anticipated to be, back on campus, we hope. But there'll be options for those who don't think that that's, safe at that time.
Okay, thank you. We've gotten a lot of questions from students just kind of wondering in general, like they've completed majority of their course requirements. Obviously, they still have to take their English and their history, but they're wondering like, should they take more classes? Does it look better for college? I know that's more like a case by case. And I responded with like, email your own counselor and see and discuss that personally. But do you guys have any opinions? I'm sure it's all different, but any common opinions on that?
That's a good question. So when you are applying to a 4-year university that's considered selective, meaning it's difficult to get into, those universities, such as the UC schools, and there's a bunch of independent and private schools that are selective, they are looking to see how you challenge yourself. Are you doing the minimum, or are you challenging yourself? And this is the tough part of being a student, because you don't want to take on too much and take everything AP and overload yourself and then not do well academically or get too stressed out. So your goal should be to find a balance and challenge yourself in areas in which you're strong or you're interested. But the typical recommendation, this is from the UC system, is that you don't just take 4 classes. They recommend 5 college prep classes at a minimum. So, because you don't want to, one of the things they evaluate you by is, did you have a rigorous senior schedule? So rigorous, again, doesn't mean everything's AP and honors. I do have students who do everything AP and honors and they're fine. I say, aren't you stressed out? And they're like, nah, I'm fine. That's rare though. I mean, the typical student needs to have a balance, right? So please don't overwhelm yourselves because we don't want to see you too stressed out. And it's not like, because you didn't take this AP class, you're not going to get into this university. That's not how they do it. There's not one deciding factor. When they review an application, they're looking at a lot of different things. The UC system uses 14 different criteria to evaluate an application. So it's not one thing that makes or breaks you. So please, have your mental health be healthy too. Have time outside of school to do things that mean a lot to you and make you happy.
And I'm going to just piggyback on that. That's the main point that we all say within the counseling office. But you also want to look at other things that you're doing. Like Ms. Paul mentioned, that your application is not just your transcript. It's more than that. And so if you work, you're doing an internship, you play year-round sports, you're highly involved in school and have a lot of responsibilities outside of school, and 5 classes is just too much, that's okay, because when you fill out your application, you could say, hey, I'm doing all these other things and I just couldn't fit another class into my schedule because I had to leave at 1 o'clock every day. That's okay, because that makes you who you are. So yes, they do recommend 5, but if you didn't, like Miss Paul said, if you said, it doesn't work into my schedule, then don't worry about it. You will get into college. But if you're just focusing on your academics and, then I would say you want to take as rigorous as you can and try to add a class if it works into your schedule. But that's why you talk to your counselor, because we can help you determine that. We can guide you.
Okay, thank you. So our next question is, since 0 periods are so difficult to get into and they fill up quickly, is a student allowed to try to sign up for 2 0 periods in hopes of getting into one, or do they just apply for one and hope for the best?
Oh, you want me to try, or?
You could try, I'll try.
Okay, well, it depends. I would go over this with your counselor, because we don't want you to have a tricky strategy that backfires on you. Because if you put in 2 0 periods, the computer can't schedule you in both. So it's going to reject you from one. So if you put in 0, I'm going to say 0 period woodworking and 0 period government in hopes I just want a 0 period. I'm just using this as an example. If the computer puts you into 0 period woodworking, it's going to reject you from 0 period government, and then you don't have a government class in your schedule. See, so we're happy to try to strategize with you. We want you to get what you want, but we can't just say, yeah, do 2 0 periods, because it might not work. So, but we know the system, and we'll do our best to help you come up with a strategy. So that's why we're here.
I think what I would just say is be flexible, and that will help you get the 0 period. In that last year we practiced this, and we said, if a student asked for, say, 0 period English, but they could go into 0 period government, we would put them in government and then put them in regular English. And some students were like, hey, no, I only wanted government. And that's difficult for us. So if you really want a 0 period, be flexible and know we will try to make that happen. We really, truly do. Like, we want it to work for you, but it doesn't always, but we will do our best.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. So this is a question I've actually received a lot, and it's kind of specific, but so engineering is considered a CTE course. Does that also count as elective courses and credits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So an elective, thank you for asking that, because it's confusing. An elective to all of you is any class you take above minimum graduation requirements. For example, we hope that all seniors will do 4 years of math, Your graduation requirement is 2. So your 3rd and 4th year of math both go into the elective category.
And then moving forward, does health science, which is also a CTE course, count as a science credit or no?
No. So our science courses are listed on your form under the science. We have them divided by life and physical, and that way you'll know if it meets a science requirement.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's confusing because it has the word science in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is, what steps should a student take towards credit recovery?
So they should definitely reach out to their counselor. We have identified our students and reached out. So as juniors right now, hopefully, if there's any juniors out there right now who failed a class and want to make that up, then they should definitely reach out to their counselor as soon as possible so that they can get on the list to the credit recovery list. The credit recovery list is, it's a long list right now, and it's a wait list. And I cannot anticipate, if you were to sign up for credit recovery today, when you would be able, or if you would be able to start this semester. So if you haven't heard from your counselor and you're concerned about your credits, just reach out to your counselor, and then we can arrange to get you set up for credit recovery. We have a form that needs to be completed, and you can fill that out.
And
Okay.
on that note, we are waiting still to hear from the district on what fixing credits and remediating Ds and Fs will look like. So are we going to have summer options? We anticipate there will be something, we just don't know what it looks like yet. So we have different ways to meet those requirements.
Okay. And I know on the website that there's like some type of grace period for this, but is there a definite answer on like how long or when can students change their courses once they're already in those courses beginning in August? Is there any update on that?
We think what's going to happen is the first 2 weeks of the semester, students may request a change to their schedule, whether that's a level change, like dropping from an AP to a college prep level, or a request for an elective change. The tough part of this is that sometimes students make those requests and our classes are full. So just because you want that change and you're within the correct 2-week window doesn't mean that we can do that for you. Or sometimes we might have a spot in another period, but that won't work in your schedule because that's the only period you have a certain class you want to take. So we will always look at your request and try to make it work, but we can't guarantee anything.
Okay, so moving on, where can students get information on financial aid and scholarships?
I can answer that. I'll tell you, our website is very handy. I would go to the counseling website, and under there, the College and Career Center, there's information all about financial aid and also about scholarships. There's not a lot of scholarships for juniors right now, but as juniors, what I would recommend is you go and look at the list, because the list is very similar year to year. So you can already start to look at what's out there for next year and start to plan for local scholarships. The financial aid, there's a lot of information out there so you can get familiar with it. And I think there's a plan for, I think, is it through advisory that we're going to be doing, or is it, we're going to be posting information about financial aid? Ms.
Oh yeah, so in May, we're going to have information about financial aid. We're not exactly how it's going to come out to you guys, but we're going to start telling juniors about it so you have it in your mind for your senior year. And then senior year, we'll walk you through more stuff as well.
Absolutely. Senior year, it starts to heat up a lot. There's an application you'll have to fill out. That doesn't even open till October 1st, the main one. But we will talk more in depth about that at the beginning of your senior year, but watch for information about financial aid around May time. And That comes in various ways through email, through ASB makes announcements, so you can watch for that information.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure the College and Career Center also has updates in terms of getting more information as well. So are students able, in terms of like requesting transcripts, I know that we have Parchment as our website. Is there any other websites we can use, or is it strictly through Parchment or through your own counselor? Is that like an option?
Yes, the district prefers that we not send that kind of information via email, that it come through Parchment. And as I mentioned before, we'd like you all to get in the habit of using Parchment, just because when you're a senior and you have to send transcripts in for scholarships or to colleges, if you know how to use that, it's a real easy, safe way to request your transcripts.
Okay, so if a class requires a teacher recommendation, how should students go about receiving or requesting a recommendation from their teacher?
So there are some classes, such as if you wanted to be an aide in the attendance office or in the library, or has a prerequisite. So we counselors are asking that you email the person in charge. And if you don't know who that is, just email your counselor and we'll tell you. So let's say you wanted to be an aide in the attendance office, you would email Mrs. Gutierrez and you would carbon copy or CC your counselor. And so that way, if she says, yes, you can be an aide, then we know that it's okay. So they're just asking right now, because normally you would do that in person and we can't. So just send that person an email. And if you don't know whom to ask, that's what we're for. Ask us.
I'm going to jump in there too, because kids will say, you got to email my counselor. Make it easy on your teachers. If you're going to be, like for me, if you're going to be an ASB and you know that already, then email me and email your counselor at the same time and say, hey, is it okay if I'm in ASB? And then I just hit reply all and I say yes, and we're all done. We're not playing the back and forth email game.
Awesome. And our last question. How can we meet virtually with our counselors? And like, are those office hours? Like, how is that going to work?
That's a great question. So this is for juniors, current juniors only, and is that after this this session, you will receive an email from your counselor that will give you access to our calendar to sign up for 15-minute virtual meetings. So each calendar is different based on the counselor's schedule. So you will just link in there and request a meeting and we'll set up a Zoom call. And we really want to see your faces. So please put on your camera as we're talking with you so that we can, but it will be 15 minutes. If we need to schedule something after 15 minutes, we will do that with each student. So please come prepared with all your questions and information. It will really help the meetings go very smoothly. Also, when I say email, it is really important from this point forward that you check your email often. Please do not rely on social media for your information. We're old school here and we use email, and it is really important because you could miss some opportunities. And so I would recommend, I hope you check it every day, just scan it real quickly, but that's the best way for you to get information quickly, at least from your counselors, and about course selection.
Ms. Berry, I am so glad that you said that, because even in the ASB world, I am going to have a lot to do with your graduation next year. We're going to be talking about senior pictures, graduation caps and gowns, senior meetings, senior events, and we will always push out an email about each of those things. We do push a lot of it out on social media, but if you just get in the habit of checking your email, that's the best. And when you go into the real work world, you're going to be using an email system, not just social media, to talk with your boss. When you go to college, you're going to use an email system, not social media, to figure out what you need to do and where you need to be. So, Ms. Berry, that's a great thing. We're teaching you how to live in the real world.
And one request we counselors have before you schedule your meeting, and if you're watching this video, you're doing one of the things that we were hoping you would do, is to read all the stuff on the website and go through all the steps for course selection and read the course catalog descriptions. So that way, if you do request a 15-minute meeting with your counselor, you're not asking about things that you could have found that information there. You're asking things that are more pertinent to you, or perhaps your major or the universities you're interested in attending. So don't waste your time with the stuff that is online. Use our time with you to really ask more in-depth questions that are particular to you.
Well, thank you all so much for answering all of our questions. Unless you have any other information to share with us. Oh, Kellen, what?
I was going to promo ASB applications are still open. So
Yeah.
if you need an ASB, come apply for us at smhsasb.com. Okay, new website.
And it's a great way to be involved in your school.
Yeah.
I think ASB's a great program. I did it in high school too. It was fun doing all the activities.
Well, so when I talk to students and they ask me, you know, how do I get leadership? How do I get volunteer? And I'm like, ASB. I mean, they do it all. It's school spirit. It's being part of the community. It's being leadership. It's being community service. So if you're trying to put it all, you know, get it all in one type of organization, it's a great way to do that.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for hosting this and for helping us get this information out. And again, just email your counselor if you have further questions. That's what we're here for. And if we don't know, we'll tell you, and maybe we'll tell you where to go to find it, but we'll do our best to help you.
Kellen and Remy, thank you so much for organizing this. You did a great job and you made it very easy for us too. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.